The NHL offseason is a relentless, unforgiving beast, a maelstrom of speculation, negotiation, and the constant recalibration of plans. For the Montreal Canadiens, the pursuit of a top six forward has been a saga of near misses, closed doors, and strategic recalculations that would test the patience of Saint. Just when one door appears to open, another slams shut, forcing Kent Hughes to constantly adapt and pivot. To find the cracks in the market, the opportunities born from another team's desperation. And now, a seismic event in Anaheim has created precisely that kind of opportunity. A tidal wave that could finally bring a much-needed top six forward to Montreal. The hockey world held its breath as the Philadelphia Flyers, with an audacity that sent shockwaves across the league, launched an $18 million AV offer sheet at Leo Carlsson. This was a bold, aggressive play, a clear signal from Flyers general manager Daniel Briere that his team was ready to make a major splash. While the Anaheim Ducks, bless their hearts, possessed the cap space to match this staggering offer. Doing so has left them in a precarious financial position. Matching Carlson's deal means committing an enormous chunk of their salary cap to one player, leaving them with a mere $9 million to sign Cutter Gauthier, a cornerstone of their future, and navigate the rest of their roster needs. This isn't just a team in a bind. This is a team backed into a corner, desperate to create cap space, and that desperation is precisely what the Montreal Canadiens, with their significant cap flexibility and deep prospect pool, can and absolutely should exploit. The consequences of Anaheim's decision extend far beyond the Ducks and Flyers. This single act has changed the financial landscape for multiple teams, creating a chain reaction that could ripple across the league. Clubs with important restricted free agents must now prepare for possibility of another aggressive offer sheet, a tactic that Briere has proven he's willing to employ. If one of those teams is forced to commit enormous cap space to a young star, it may need to trade an established player or move salaries sooner than planned. That is where the Canadiens, under the shrewd guidance of Kent Hughes, could enter the picture, poised to capitalize on another team's misfortune. The name that could now enter Montreal's conversations, a name that brings with it both immense potential and a complicated history, is Chris Kreider. The 35-year-old forward is preparing to enter the final season of his contract with a $6.5 million cap hit, and Anaheim's new financial reality could make him available. Kreider also holds a 15-team no-trade clause, meaning any potential deal would require his cooperation. But the Canadiens have several compelling reasons to at least explore whether the veteran will be open to coming to Montreal. Kreider would bring an element that remains extremely valuable during the playoffs: a relentless physical net front presence. He plays with strength, speed, and directness, consistently attacking the front of the net instead of remaining on the perimeter. Montreal possesses several skilled forwards who can create offense through movement and creativity, but adding a player willing to battle around the crease, to absorb punishment, and to finish chances in traffic could make the entire attack exponentially more dangerous. This is a kind of gritty, hard-nosed hockey that wins in April, May, and June. His production also suggests that he can still contribute at a high level. Kreider recorded 50 points in 75 games last season, showing that he remains capable of playing meaningful minutes and supporting a competitive lineup. He may no longer be at the absolute peak of his career, but Montreal would not need him to carry the offense. The Canadiens would need him to provide secondary scoring, a crucial net front presence on the power play, veteran leadership in the dressing room, and invaluable experience in high-pressure situations. He's a complementary piece, but a highly impactful one. The contract structure is another important part of the conversation, and it aligns perfectly with Kent Hughes' disciplined approach to roster management. Because Kreider has only one season remaining on his deal, Montreal would not be taking on a lengthy financial commitment. That makes him a far less dangerous acquisition than an older player signed for several additional years. If the fit worked, the Canadiens could discuss an extension later, perhaps a short-term deal that aligns with the team's competitive window. If it did not, they would regain the cap space at the end of the season, maintaining maximum flexibility for future moves. This is a low-risk, high-reward proposition. Anaheim's motivation would likely be purely financial. After committing $18 million per season to Carlsson, the Ducks have approximately $9 million in cap space and still need to sign Cutter Gauthier, a player they acquired in a blockbuster trade. Moving a $6.5 million contract like Kreider's would give them considerably more flexibility, allowing them to address their remaining roster needs without being forced into another difficult decision. Montreal, meanwhile, could use its resources to take advantage of a team suddenly facing immense financial pressure. The Canadiens should not overpay in this situation. If Anaheim's priority is creating cap room, the Ducks may have limited leverage in trade negotiations. Hughes could potentially acquire Kreider without surrendering one of Montreal's premium prospects or most valuable young players. The exact return would depend on how many teams express interest and whether Anaheim is willing to retain any salary, a crucial factor that could make the deal even more attractive. Salary retention could make the deal even more appealing. If the Ducks retained a portion of Kreider's cap hit, Montreal would preserve additional flexibility for another, during the season, perhaps at the trade deadline. Hughes has built the roster carefully, accumulating assets and maintaining cap space, and he will not want one transaction to eliminate every remaining option before the trade deadline. Every dollar saved is a dollar that can be reinvested into strengthening the team. There is also a fascinating personal connection between Kreider and the Canadiens' coaching staff. Martin St. Louis played alongside him in New York during the 2014 postseason, a deep playoff run that saw the Rangers reach the Stanley Cup final. That familiarity could help Montreal evaluate Kreider's character, his preparation, and his ability to handle pressure in a demanding market. St. Louis understands firsthand what Kreider can bring when games become physical and emotional, when the stakes are highest, and when every shift matters. This personal insight could be invaluable in assessing the fit. The history between the player and the Canadiens, however, cannot be ignored. Montreal supporters still remember the 2014 Eastern Conference Final and the collision that injured Carey Price, a moment that forever etched Kreider's name into the minds of Habs fans, often with a negative connotation. For years, Kreider remained one of the most disliked opposing players among the fan base. Bringing him to Montreal would therefore create an immediate and emotional reaction, a mixture of surprise, skepticism, and perhaps even outrage from some corners of the fan base. That reaction, however, could change quickly if he produced. Hockey fans have seen former rivals become valuable contributors after changing teams. A player may be hated while wearing an opposing jersey, yet appreciated when his physical style, his scoring touch, and his relentless effort begin benefiting the home team. Kreider's willingness to attack the net, absorb contact, and play with an edge could eventually make him a fan favorite at the Bell Center, turning boos into cheers. Brendan Gallagher is the only remaining Canadiens player from that 2014 series, reducing the likelihood that old tensions will become a significant locker room issue. More importantly, professional players understand that roster decisions are made to improve the team. If Montreal's leadership, including Nick Suzuki and Cole Caulfield, believed Kreider could help, the organization would not allow a decade-old rivalry to prevent a sensible move. The focus is on winning, and winning transcends old grudges. From a lineup perspective, Kreider could fill multiple roles. He could skate beside Nick Suzuki and Cole Caulfield, using his size and net front ability to complement their skill and create a truly dominant top line. He could also play on a second line with younger forwards, providing stability, leadership, and creating space for them to operate, allowing them to develop their offensive games without facing constant pressure. His power play impact may be especially valuable. Kreider has spent much of his career establishing position near the crease, screening goaltenders, redirecting shots, and finishing rebounds. Those skills require timing, strength, and courage, and they often become decisive in close games, particularly in the playoffs where power play goals can be the difference between winning and losing. Montreal's younger forwards could also learn invaluable lessons from him. Playoff success is not built only through talent. Players must understand how to manage momentum, respond after difficult losses, and remain composed during hostile road games. Kreider has experienced long postseason runs, including a trip to the Stanley Cup final, and knows how quickly a series can change. His veteran presence and leadership will be invaluable in guiding the Canadiens' young core through the rigors of a deep playoff run. Still, the Canadiens must carefully evaluate the risks. Age eventually affects every player, and there is no guarantee that last season's production will continue. Montreal would need to determine whether Kreider's skating, physical condition, and overall effectiveness remain strong enough to justify his cap hit and role. A thorough medical evaluation and a deep dive into his analytics would be essential. His no-trade protection creates another uncertainty. Montreal would need to know whether the Canadiens are among the teams he can block. Even if they are, Kreider could waive the clause if he believed the situation offered a legitimate chance to compete for a Stanley Cup. The Canadiens' improvement, young core, passionate market in connection with St. Louis could all become part of the recruiting effort, painting a compelling picture for a veteran looking for one last shot at glory. The decision would also depend on Montreal's broader plan. If Hughes can acquire a younger top-six forward with long-term control, that player would likely remain the priority. But those opportunities are difficult to find and expensive to complete. Kreider represents a different route, a shorter commitment, a potentially lower acquisition cost, and immediate experience. It's a pragmatic, opportunistic play that could pay huge dividends. This is exactly the type of situation in which a patient general manager can gain an advantage. Anaheim may not have planned to trade the veteran, but the Carlson contract changed the equation. Hughes can contact the Ducks, determine their asking price, and wait to see whether financial pressure forces them to become more flexible. He has the cap space, the assets, and the patience to make the right move. The Canadiens do not need to make a desperate move. They already have a strong foundation and should protect their most important future assets. But they must also recognize when the market creates a possible bargain. A motivated, experienced, and physically imposing forward on an expiring contract could be an ideal addition if the cost remains reasonable. Kreider would arrive with controversy.